X-Files fans, the show is back after 2 years off the air. We're going to be talking about the season premiere, which was called My Struggle 3, written and directed by Chris Carter. I'm here with Daniel Montgomery and Rob Licuria. And Rob, I'm going to come to you first. I am so happy this show is back. What about you?
Yeah, I'm happy about it as well. And when I started watching it, the first thing that occurred to me was it's really nice to have these characters back in my life. You know, back in our lives. It was like, oh, it's nice. And they kind of all look a little bit older and crackier. But yeah, it was, and maybe apart from Gillian Anderson, she looks amazing. I don't know if she's kind of aging backwards, but it's just nice to have them all back in my life, and I can just kind of feel like a kid again, because that's what the X-Files ultimately means to me.
Mm-hmm. And Daniel?
I love having the show back. It's in the sense that you know, I love the show and these characters. I spent like 12 years writing my own parody series of the X-Files. I loved it. Was one of my first big fandoms. You know, in its current form, I could do with a few changes in direction, but it's always nice to see Scully and Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
And even Skinner. I've always liked Skinner.
Are you saying the premiere was not perfect?
I'm saying the premiere was not perfect in very generous terms, but yeah, I hear it gets better.
Yeah, some of the press has received screeners of other episodes, and I guess it keeps getting better from here. So Rob, what's something that you really, really liked in the premiere that you can't wait to talk about?
Well, just going back to I was talking about Gillian Anderson. I think she is so, I mean, this is the character that really made her a star, and she just does Scully so well. And, you know, it was Scully in peril. I love Scully in peril mode, because sometimes, you know, it's Scully, you know, that she's strong and nothing can ever get her down. But in this episode, she's really kind of in trouble, and she just sold it beautifully. Like, I just thought her performance was fantastic, and I thought with all the issues that I had with this particular episode and with this reboot of the show generally, because I do have problems with it, but I was thinking, was there anything awards worthy about it? And I kept going back to her. I thought her performance as Scully was fantastic. I think she does a great job. So that's what I was trying to focus on, and trying to be having more of a positive mindset. I was kind of thinking about how she was very, very good in this.
She's great, and William B. Davis it's criminal, really, that he's never received an Emmy nomination for the show. Maybe this year. He had a lot of screen time in the premiere, possibly more than he's ever had in a single episode.
Yeah, it's it's one of those situations where I wonder, you know, because the guest acting rules have changed over the course of the years. Like, if, you know, in previous seasons of the show, he was always this recurring actor who was kind of always around, so usually too much when he was on to probably be eligible for guest, and so he might have benefited from some of the more modern guest acting rules, you know, which it would be kind of nice to see him get in now, you know, pending how his storyline turns out.
Yeah. I guess he has to be, there's going to be 10 episodes, so he'll have to be in 4 or less to be eligible for guest star. So hopefully he hits that mark, because I really want him nominated. I even wore my Cigarette Smoking Man t-shirt last night as I watched the premiere. I was in game mode.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cliffhanger finale where we find out, spoiler alert, that he's actually the father of William. I loved that twist so much. You have no idea how much I love that twist. What did you guys think?
That felt and this coming from a soap opera fan, that felt very Days of Our Lives. A little,
but they showed the clips. They showed the proof that this really could have happened.
I know, but it still feels like, you know, a paternity reveal in the, you know, and it's a little creepy on top of that, and not creepy in the usual good, you know, X-Files, you know, monsters that eat your face kind of way, but in just a more of an icky kind of, right. Like, ooh, at least he said he did it with science, because otherwise I'm out.
Right. There is a little confusion. He says he was creating a superhuman, which I guess means William is a superhuman. I mean, I know when he was a baby, we saw him like spinning things around in circles. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens. When they showed us clips of William, like present day William, and he kind of looked like Freddie Highmore to me, like a teenage Freddie Highmore.
I thought the same thing. Yeah. But apparently, William and Mulder are brothers instead of
Right.
father and son. It's very Chinatown also.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Spender. So there's three brothers.
Yeah, I can't keep up. I'm really like when the reveal was made. My first reaction was really, oh God, that's dumb. I don't buy it. But the more I thought about it, I thought, okay, yeah, I'm cool with this, because if you're going to go down the whole superhuman route, then that makes sense that William was engineered, so to speak, with Scully, and CSM kind of had this fascination or infatuation with her, and that's why she was kind of chosen, and she's got this alien DNA whole thing happening in the background from Memento Mori, one of the best episodes ever made of television. And yes, she did. And so that kind of started to all kind of gel for me in my mind. But my first reaction was, oh, great. Yeah, I also thought this is very telenovela-ish, and it didn't really watch it all.
I loved that twist. It was one of the best X-Files twists they've ever done, because nobody saw it coming.
No, that's a big call, mate. That's a big call.
It is a big call, but when they showed the flashbacks to that episode, it's a season 7 episode called Enemy, which was written by William B. Davis. And they showed the clips of Scully in the bed, with her dress kind of half on, half off. I remembered that, and I actually went back and rewatched those scenes from that episode. I pulled out my old crusty DVD, and sure enough, it's there. It was there staring us in the face the whole time. I do wonder, was this the plan all along, or did they kind of fall into it by having that old episode? I don't know.
I think they fell into it. I feel like if that was the plan all along, there was enough X-Files after that I feel like if it had been part of the plan, they would have worked it into the last season something, or they would have worked it into the movie they did after the show ended. But yeah, or into the last season. I feel like Chris Carter might have come up with that the day he wrote that scene.
Speaking of, whether they plan stuff in advance, who wants to tackle the issue of the dream? The finale, last season's finale, was actually a dream. It was all in Scully's head, which actually I think it's William's visions, right? William is having the visions, and he's sending them to his mom telepathically. Who wants to tackle that?
I didn't like that. It was really like, you might as well have said it was in a snow globe at this point. Like, haven't we been there, done that, got the T-shirt? Do we really? It bothered me. I understand why it's happened, because I guess when the 6 episodes that aired 2 years ago aired, there probably wasn't necessarily going to be another season. That's what I'm assuming. And so they had to kind of write themselves out of that corner by doing this. But it's just such a lazy and cliche way of writing a series, and I was disappointed. But that being said, it's kind of working for them now, because they're out of that, that little space, and they can now, expand the show in a different direction, which is a good thing, because I really didn't like the finale of the first reboot
a lot of
season.
people felt like you, they didn't like the finale, and maybe Chris Carter read all those bad reviews and said, okay, let's just pretend the finale didn't happen then.
Since it's been like 2 years since the 10th season aired, I actually didn't pick up on the whole it was a dream thing, because I didn't go back and watch it, the past episodes before. Like, I don't like doing homework on TV. So like I'm of the mind that I'll catch up with what I need to catch up with, and I'll remember what I need to remember when I need to remember it. So I didn't even pick up on throughout the entire episode that entire season finale had been kind of had been a dream, So, but which is actually a little. It's nice to know, because I too was not a big fan of that season finale. My struggle could have been the title of my experience watching that season finale. So I'm happy to move on from that.
Another scene I really liked was Skinner versus Mulder. These guys would always fight back in the old seasons, and it was great rewatching that scene because I watched it twice, and knowing now that Skinner knew that CSM was William's father, he was protecting Mulder by telling Mulder, let it go, Mulder, let it go. Don't ask me where I was. He's totally protecting him, and I didn't realize that till the second time I watched it.
You could have washed his shirt though before,
Yeah, you smell like smoke.
Yeah, that was probably like maybe just get some Febreze and just give yourself a little spray over it. I love Skinner, always have, and I loved also his scene in the car with cigarette smoking man with the gun on him. Skinner is a badass, and he's got balls, and he's tough, and he's kind of had Mulder and Scully's back for a very long time. But I've always been of the view that he's complicated and he has his own motivations as well. Like it's not just like he's not just a hero, he's not just a villain, he's something else, and I love that about him. And Mitch Pileggi is so good as Skinner, always has been. I don't remember if he was always in the opening credits. One of you guys will probably be able to tell me, but I like how he is the third build character on this show.
He was first added in season 9, which was the final season, and then again last season. But only in episodes that he appears in. So you can tell right away whether Mitch is going to be in the episode or not, whether or not he appears in the credits.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping, or I kind of wish they'd gone all the way in that Mulder and Skinner scene and just have them do the slap fight. Just,
Yeah, a little slap fight.
Leading to that.
I would watch that. I would definitely watch a slap fight.
We had 2 other characters return, Jeffrey Spender and Monica Reyes. And Monica Reyes's motives kind of confused me a little bit because she's working with CSM, and I know they kind of explained it last year, but in the finale. But now that we know the finale is a dream, did that really happen or not? It's confusing.
It's super confusing, really confusing, and also I've just forgotten the actress's name, so just pardon me for that. But I don't like the Monica character at all, and when she was brought on the show towards the end of the first run of the series, when Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny started to step back, that's when I pretty much stepped back from the show as well. And so I don't feel any connection with her at all. And I didn't understand her motivations and why she was kind of with CSM, and it kind of went over my head a little bit. And maybe that's the fault of the writing, or maybe that's the fault of me being an idiot. I don't know, but it's one of the two.
Well, we know one of those is true.
Well, I'm with you too. I actually, because I watched the show, maybe not every single episode after David Duchovny left and Doggett and Reyes became the new central team on the show. I kept watching it, and I had nothing against Monica Reyes, the character, Annabeth Gish, the actress. I like them both fine enough, but I do think her motivations are so a little baffling. Like I don't feel like they've bridged the gap between where she was when in season 9 and where they've brought her in these last 2 seasons. And maybe they will, but it feels very abrupt, because it's not just that she's working with him. Like the way she was holding a gun on Skinner was just, she is full blown evil. Like that's how she seemed to be playing it. Yeah. And it just, I don't know where that connection is.
I hope we get more of her. I know we're getting a Skinner episode, during the middle of the season, but I really hope we get more of explanation for what is her mindset here. There were two other characters we should mention: the Barbara Hershey's character, and then the bigger guy. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. Who's also a cigarette smoking bad guy, and so their purpose, I guess, is to start colonizing space, right, Daniel?
But only for like rich elites or something, and
so Trump.
Kind of, and it's so the way this conspiracy has spun out from aliens to just not even aliens at all. So it's you got CSM on one side, who just wants to now annihilate the human race, it seems. Basically Lex Luthor stuff, and then you've got this other team. It's like, no, we don't want to annihilate this human race. We want to take a select group of people and colonize space. I just like thinking, what show is this? Sometimes.
Yeah. What a week. That's true. And you know what else that just occurred to me? I was really happy about, given that it's been 2 years since the first season of this reboot, and a lot has happened since that time, especially in America, politically. I liked that there were some images of the Trump team, many of them who have now been fired, and CSM talking about fake news and how it's so easy now to just kind of get away with murder, so to speak, because no one can believe anything. It's all about opinion. I loved that. That was actually the best writing that I've felt from the whole of this first episode. Maybe because I'm so attuned to what's going on politically anyway, but I think a lot of people would be watching this, conspiracy theorists and people who don't believe in what the government are doing. Now more than ever, that is definitely relevant. That's making this show more relevant than it was before, which is going to cut against what I'm going to say a little bit later when we start criticizing the show.
Well, I actually would have preferred that scene from maybe another character, because I feel like CSM would have voted for Trump, honestly. Like, he would have had some nefarious motive to install Trump in the White House, and then, you know, the aliens come and inhabit Trump's body or something. Like, that would have made, like, I didn't necessarily buy CSM ranting about fake news.
Right. Well, before we go, is there something, Robbie, you wanted to add? Maybe a criticism or so?
Well, my major criticism for the show, and I must preface this by saying, just like the two of you, I'm sure, the X-Files means a lot to me. Like, it's probably in my top 5 of all time. It's a show that I watched throughout my adolescence. You know, I was a massive fan. It was the first thing I did whenever I experienced the internet. Like, it means a lot. To have the show back is very exciting to me. But I just feel that we have moved on a bit in pop culture from what the X-Files was back in the day, and I feel that it's a little dated. It's not as relevant as it used to be, and this first episode really kind of emphasized that it feels dated. It feels like it's still stuck in the 90s, the way it's shot, the way the music, even the writing, and I think they really do need to be more aware of that. They need to start competing with what we're seeing in streaming and on cable in terms of how cutting edge drama is these days compared to what the X-Files is, which it looked like 24 to me. It didn't look like something on HBO, and that was slightly disappointing because I would have liked to see them do something a bit more relevant.
I half agree with you, but the other half of me is I mean, look at Will and Grace. That show is the exact same now as it was when it went off the air 10 years ago. So why should the X-Files change? Why can't it just be a 90s show airing in 2018?
Well, I think the problem with the challenge there is that Will and Grace is an in-studio multi-camera sitcom. It's much easier, and it's not serialized in the same way, though of course it had, you know, storylines building. This has such a long, like, extravagant mythology going back years and years and years that it does, especially the way it deals with government and law enforcement and conspiracy. Our understanding of that has changed to such a degree, especially in the last year, that it is something that the show could stand to, you know, kind of update with where we are now as a society and adapt itself to that. And I think it's entirely capable of doing that. I think, you know, this is a premise that is durable, you know, with the right storylines. All
right. Well, any other final thoughts?
Well, I just got to say, season 12, written and directed by David Lynch. Come on, let's.
Oh no!
Do it. Let's do it.
I would not watch.
Yeah.
Maybe Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, that would be good. Maybe.
All right. Well, I'm going to go fake a moon landing. So I will see you guys next week here with our X-Files recap.